right, you guys, as you saw in the thumbnail, today I'm going to be making some delicious apple pies. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get that craving for that apple pie from McDonald's, and I say, you know what? I bet I could do it. There's probably nothing to it. So we're going to start by making the pastry for our apple pie, for the apples to be held in. So I'm going to put 1 cup of bread flour. You could definitely use all-purpose flour too. And I'm going to grab a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to mix those two things together. Now, normally they'll say, hey, you want to make sure you're using like frozen butter. I found a recipe that was like, if the butter's not frozen but it's cold, you could actually make this work, and you're gonna see how in just a second. So I just mixed in the salt a little bit, a little razzle dazzle with the fork. Now I'm going to start cutting in the butter. Now, as we know, I don't have these fancy tools yet. So I'll be using 2 forks to just start really like cutting in the butter. I don't have like a pastry butter cutter, whatever. So I'm gonna add the butter in kind of like a little by little, and I'm gonna give you guys an angle so you can see exactly what I'm doing, but really I'm just like mashing this butter down. But let me give you another angle, hold on. All right, so you can see all I'm doing is I am mashing this butter. I'm cutting the butter into the dough. And I actually have 10 tablespoons of butter here. So it's like a stick and 2 more tablespoons. So as I get some done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in a couple more of my cubes that I pre-sliced. Alrighty, so now that I have my butter chopped into my dough in fairly small pieces, you just want to make sure there aren't a lot of like really big chunks there. I am going to make a well in like the center of my dough, so I'm going to push the butter flour situation to the edges so that there's a nice clear center in my bowl. See that? I messed it up there, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take 1/3 of a cup of ice water and I am going to pour it in. And then I'm going to start mixing my dough in. Actually, let me not use a fork to do this. Hold on. I'm going to get a paddle, which is more appropriate for this moment. All right. I'm going to start mixing it in. Now, in the recipe, I read that there will be a temptation to add more water, but don't add more water. Trust the process. The dough will come together. It's supposed to be dry. And it's gonna give like the flaky vibe. So I'm just trying to make sure that there is like, I guess, all of the dough gets wet. It's kind of coming together, but I could definitely see why people would want to add a little more water. I'm so tempted, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna trust the process. Now that the dough has come together just a little bit, I am going to spread out a little bit of flour onto my counter because I'm going to roll the dough. Well, I'm gonna put the dough on it and we're gonna see how this comes together. Like I said, it's come together a little bit, but it's still quite separated. But today's theme is trust the process. Start by like trying to push it together. To make it like come together, right? Okay, so it is kind of coming together, and what they said I'm supposed to do is I'm actually supposed to roll it out. It's funny because there's literally still pieces of ice and they said like fold it over. Okay, so I just keep continuing to kind of roll this out, fold it up. Probably should have paid a little bit more attention to how many times I'm supposed to do this. Not exactly sure. But I will say it's starting to give that flaky crust type moment that we all know and love when it comes to pies. So surprised at how easy it actually is to make a pastry. Although I will say, to be determined, because we didn't taste this yet. But let's keep going. I'm gonna try to stretch this out. I did not look at a pastry recipe that went with the apple pie, so I don't know. I know I'm making a pastry. I don't know exactly how much. Feeling pretty good about this. It's gonna be a great treat when Mickey and I watch a movie tonight. Having a little in-house date night. Kids are gone for the weekend. We actually have a really fun weekend planned, actually. A wedding, a concert, and quality time. All right, you guys, so one of the reasons I'm making apple pies is not just because I was craving it, but also because I had these extra apples. It's like you buy stuff for kids and 1 week they love it and you get it again the next week and then suddenly they don't eat it anymore. So now we have a bag of apples basically that never got eaten because our children just decided they didn't want apples anymore. So here we are, peeling apples to make apple pies. Now that my apples are peeled up, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to cut them into small pieces. I always start by cutting my apples down the middle first, just so I can, I don't know, I guess get rid of the core. Is that what I'm doing? I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna cut it like that. And you wanna make sure your apples are not like too big. Obviously the chunks that you do, because you're trying to cook these down just to make them soft. I always feel inside too to make sure there's no like that hard piece of the core is still there. Okay, all of my apples are now diced. My thought is they're kind of like the same size. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. We'll see what happens. Let's go to the stove so I can cook them down. So I'm gonna start by melting down 3 tablespoons of butter. So let's get that going. All right, you guys, now that my butter is pretty much melted down, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add in my apples here. Gonna add a little bit of brown sugar. How much, listen, these are the parts where measurements kind of start going a little bit to the waist side, I'm not gonna lie, but if you keep in track, that looked like about 2 tablespoons. I said about because obviously this is not my tablespoon measurement. Go in with my cinnamon and I'm gonna just give it a little shake there. If I were to guess, I'd say it's probably like half a teaspoon, maybe, something like that. I'm gonna add a dash. Now listen when I say a dash of nutmeg. Boop. Just for a little razzle dazzle. Lastly, I'm gonna squeeze in some lemon juice. Like I said, make sure you get that pop, especially since I'm not using Granny Smith apples. All right, you guys, now I'm gonna go in with a teaspoon of flour, and this is just gonna be to make sure that my filling is not too runny. Even though it's actually pretty thick, apples release a lot of juice when they're cooking at times, so I just wanna make sure that as they're baking in the oven, we're just in a good place, I just want us to be in a good place. And I did put a dash, listen, a dash of salt, just to make sure, just to help make my sweetness pop. Don't go too crazy, just a dash. I'm gonna remove my apples from the heat, let them cool just a little bit, and fill up my pastries. I need to figure out how I'm gonna cut this. I'm thinking boom, boom, 3, 4. I don't know how many I'm gonna have. I'm just gonna start cutting and hope it works itself out. Technically it's dough, I can always roll it back up. Okay, let's do this. 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll have 5, right? So let me go ahead. I'm gonna put it. Oh man, these are gonna be kind of big, I guess. This side's gonna be the, I should have done it alternating, not for any reason in particular, but I'm just gonna go in And I'm gonna put some apples. You know what I need to get? One of those baking mats that you just put on the counter and you can actually toss it in the dishwasher and everything. So that then when I'm baking, I don't have to put my stuff on the counter. I could just put it on my baking mat. I just have to say, I definitely feel like McDonald's is not serving up this many apples in their apple pie. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna fold it over like this, and then I'm gonna use a fork when I seal it. Ooh, so it's okay, it's okay. Let's get a pan, cause it's kind of like heavy. I might have rolled it like too thin. Time will tell. I'm gonna do the pushes with the fork to seal it. This is like extra dough. All right, so here are my pies. It looks a little crazy, but we'll see what happens. Okay, you guys, these tasted amazing, but I forgot to put an egg wash on the edge to seal the edges. So don't forget to do that. And I forgot to poke the holes in the top of the pie to vent. So do that too, even though it really didn't affect the baking.